I think at the end of the day, we work with individuals. Some individuals are probably better than others in taking criticism. And so I think one needs to be quite careful in terms of how we do that. And in fact, I remembered one PhD student who is not one of my supervisee, and he complained against me because of the way I was giving feedback, and it was taken completely out of context, and so that requires a lot of dialogue and conversation to explain why I have done what I have done. I think fundamentally, if you explain why you do certain things, I don't think we do a lot of that in communication. I think in communication, we tend to focus on what matters, right? So we tend to inform information rather than communicate. And by communicating, I think we need to perhaps focus more on why we say certain things. And also, I think it's useful to encourage students to go out of their PhD offices, right? A lot of my students actually do their field work with companies and people outside the university, so that's great. But I think it's also useful for them to get a sanity check through attending conferences, through the end of year report reviews, because they actually get feedback from someone else other than the supervisor. And often that can be very useful in terms of corroborating what we have been saying so far. It was really interesting. I remember one of my PhD students who was extremely resistant to my comments to start with, and he didn't believe me. So he submitted the same paper to a conference, and the reviewers came back with virtually identical comments, but much more elaborate. And I remember he came to a meeting feeling really put out by the comments, and he suspected that I was actually one of the reviewers for that particular conference. And I just had to reassure him that this was not possible because they would not normally send to someone from the same institution to review. But that was actually quite a moment of epiphany for the PhD student, because he realized that I wasn't really against him in my comments. I was trying to kind of help him in that process. And I think it's working a lot to explain why you do certain things and to make sure that they understand that it is for their best interest, even though they probably couldn't see it at that point in time.